Hello everyone, this is actually Maxon from the future, and I just realized while I was editing this video that I had like zero energy while I was recording it, and I just sound like I'm dead throughout the entire video, and I just wanted to apologize in advance for that. Basically, the soccer game that I will be explaining in this video is it's kind of like a very exciting game of pass. So it's a Ninja.io adaptation of a real world soccer game, and or is it an adaptation? I'm overthinking things. I'm sorry, but basically, it's like you need to pass the ball between your teammates to go score in the enemy zone, but you can't move at all while holding the ball, except for jumping or flying straight up. So it's, pretty interesting, and there's a lot of interceptions and fun gameplay, and it's a very unique game. So hopefully you guys will have fun playing it if you do choose to, and I hope that the rest of the video isn't just like doesn't put you to sleep or something. So yeah, I was recording it really late, and I thought like it'll be fine, and I just realized while I was editing it now it's not fine, but I don't have time to record it again because the event that we're doing, which needs this video, is on Sunday. So I'm just gonna post it, and I'm sorry about me being dead in it, but hopefully it will still get the explanation across decently. I'll also leave a text explanation in the description and maybe in the comments as well. Okay, that's all. Future Maxon out. That was cringy. Hello there everyone. Today I plan to explain the rules of a fun game that you can play with the soccer ball in Ninja.io. This game is adapted from a sport that I used to play as a kid in real life. I can't remember the name of it, but I thought it would be fun to adapt into a Ninja.io context, and I think it will be a lot of fun to play with friends. For that reason, I'm making this video so that anyone who wants to can learn the rules and play, and hopefully you will have fun playing this game inside of Ninja.io. With that said, if you do want to learn to play this soccer game, I ask that you please watch the entire video because all of the rules are important and make things much more fun. So you might get a bit confused if you miss a rule or two. Now, to give a brief explanation of the game, it's like a game of pass, but you cannot move while holding the ball. All you can do is pass it, so you need to work with your team to make it to the goal zone, passing the ball along the way. If one of your teammates can catch or pick up the ball while inside of the enemy score zone, your team gets a point. However, at the same time, the enemy team is working to try and intercept the ball so that they can reverse the direction it's moving and score in your goal zone. This means that both teams are working to pass the ball amongst each other so that they can score in the enemy team's goal zone. While a player is holding the ball, they are not allowed to move left or right, but they can jump and fly directly up or down. That means that a player can only move up or down while holding the ball. They are not allowed to move in any other directions, and they are not allowed to do any flips. Because of that, when a player is holding the ball, they need to pass it to a teammate in order to get closer to the enemy goal. Meanwhile, the enemy team will work to intercept the pass and catch the ball for themselves. So your team is working to pass it amongst each other to go score, and the enemy team is working to steal the ball from you guys and reverse its direction. Of course, while they're trying to steal it, they have to actually intercept a pass. They can't just grab it out of your hands. All players can move freely and however they want as long as they are not holding the ball, which means if you are holding the ball, it is up to your teammates to get into an open position, and it is up to you to send a good pass to an open teammate so that you can get the ball closer to the enemy goal. As soon as you've thrown the ball, you're free to move again, but you cannot pick up the ball again until someone else has touched it. A player cannot pass to themselves, and a player cannot pick up the ball twice in a row. That means if you were just holding the ball, as soon as you threw or dropped it, You can't pick it up again until someone else has held it at least once. That means to play this game you will need at least 4 players, with 2 on each side as a minimum. So to reiterate that, you cannot pass to yourself, and you cannot pick up the ball twice in a row. As soon as you pass it or drop it, somebody else needs to touch it before you can again. Also, as I mentioned a bit earlier, no player can steal the ball from someone else's hands. That means you cannot knock the ball out of another player's hands, you have to wait for them to pass it. So to reiterate that, nobody is allowed to steal the ball from another player. You cannot take it out of their hands. You have to wait for them to pass it, and then you have to try and intercept it. Or, of course, you can wait for them to miss a pass and then try and pick it up off the floor. But you cannot take it out of their hands. Additionally, no player on either team can get super close to the person holding the ball. You need to give them some room to breathe. That means you can't just go right in front of an enemy with the ball to block them from passing, and if you have the ball, your teammates can't just go right in front of you to catch the ball super easily. No getting super close to the ball holder, that's not allowed. As a general rule of thumb, you can't be touching the player who's holding the ball at all. That rhymes, but whatever. Your character should sort of be at an arm's length away from the ball holder. Whether a teammate or an enemy is holding the ball, you need to give them some space and stay at a healthy distance to keep everything fair. So no getting super close to the person holding the ball, whether they're on your team or not. And the final rule is, if the ball hits the ground, anyone except for the person that just threw it can pick the ball up. It doesn't matter which team you're on, as long as you are not the one who threw the ball, because as we were talking about, you can't pick it up twice in a row. So as long as you are not the one who threw the ball, then you can pick it up off the ground. Again though, as soon as you pick up the ball, you have to stop moving and will only be able to jump and fly directly up or down. While holding the ball, you are not allowed to flip, and you are not allowed to move left or right. Instead, you need to do your best to pass the ball to a teammate who is in the open. If any of these rules are broken, the team that broke the rule needs to give the enemy team the ball at whatever spot the rule was broken. That means if you move forwards with the ball, you have to give an enemy player the ball at whatever spot you started moving forwards from. Now, when you are playing this game, you need to appoint a referee, and this referee will make sure everything stays fair and that there are no arguments when playing. Before a match starts, the referee will also decide where the goal zones will be and show both spots to all the players. Generally, a referee should pick 2 medium-sized platforms on opposite sides of the map to act as the goal zones. The referee will also keep track of the score and make sure no players are breaking any of the rules that we talked about earlier. Generally speaking, this game is best played in open maps that have a lot of vertical space. This allows players to have more options while passing and makes intercepting the ball more challenging and fun. Before you play this game, make sure you are familiar with the different maps in Ninjaio and only pick the ones that have enough open space. The more open space it has, generally speaking, the better. There are also some maps that have very tight zones or passageways, so if the ball ever gets stuck in a tight area and no progress is being made, the referee can order that the ball be brought out of the area, or even section off certain zones so that the ball doesn't just continue to get stuck over and over. It is the referee's job to make sure the game runs smoothly. It's a very important job, and you guys should only give it to someone that the other players trust. On the topic of trust, make sure you only play this game with your friends and make sure they understand the rules first. That way you don't have to deal with arguments or risk having random people crash your game. Again, if you are playing this game, I recommend you only do so with people you already know and that you don't do it in public lobbies. When the match first starts, the referee will go to the center of the map with all the players. Then they will toss the ball up into the air and back away, and everyone will, except the referee, will try and catch it. And whichever team gets the ball first will start with it. Of course, there can only be one ball in circulation at any given time, So at the start of the match, only the referee can keep a ball. Everyone else will need to toss theirs aside. Again, being able to play this game smoothly really depends on the maps you play in. So make sure that you make a custom lobby and you only select maps that are suited to this soccer game. The most important thing to remember when picking a map for this game is that it needs to have a lot of open space and it should not have a lot of tight passageways. If there are any problems with the map you choose, the referee can help by making adjustments like declaring tight passageways as out of bounds. To summarize everything, this is a game of pass where your team needs to work together to catch the ball in the enemy goal zone. Then you score a point. Meanwhile, the team without the ball needs to do their best to get the ball for themselves by trying to intercept passes. The player who has the... I can't speak, I'm sorry. I do this in every single video. Okay. The player who has the ball can only move up or down and cannot move left or right. This means that teamwork is super important because you will never be able to reach the enemy goal zone without passing between your teammates. So when you have the ball, all you can do is go up or down. And if you're using your flight, you can only fly straight up. You cannot do any flips and you cannot move left or right. With that said, any movements that were initiated before you caught the ball are fine. For example, if you were in the middle of a flip while you were catching the ball, your team won't lose possession of it if you accidentally finish the flip after catching it, because that can be really hard to control since you started the movement before making the catch. So small accidents like that, where you move tiny amounts while catching the ball, are not the end of the world. Just do your best to stop moving once you catch the ball. But if you do end up making a small accidental movement while catching it, that's fine and you won't lose possession of the ball. With that said though, if it does look like it was on purpose or you moved a very large amount, then of course the referee can order the ball to be turned over. So it's not a big deal if you have a little bit of movement when you're first catching it, because you initiated the movement before you had possession of the ball. But just be careful with that and try to make sure you're stopping as soon as you can. Moving on to the topic of player numbers, at a minimum you need 4 players for this game with 2 on each side. However, as a maximum, I would recommend only having 8 players in the lobby at most, which means you don't want to have more than 4 players on each side. The reason for this is because if you have too many players in the match, things will be harder to keep track of, more confusing, and passes might end up getting intercepted too often. So in other words, if you are playing this game, try and make sure you have between 4 to 8 players in total. Try not to go over 8 players. So that means no more than 4 people on each team. If you do have more than 8 people who want to play, you can just split them into different lobbies and assign referees for each lobby. That way each lobby is more organized and the matches will run smoothly. This is probably not a game you want to be playing with a lot of people in one lobby, otherwise it might get too disorganized and difficult to pass the ball, because people can just, make a wall or something to block it, so you don't want that many people. So again, I recommend that you do not have more than 4 players on each team. Try and keep the total player count for each lobby between 4 and 8 players. And of course, each lobby should be made in the team deathmatch format. That way, it is easy for everyone to tell who is on which team, so you will want to make sure that if you are playing this game, you create the lobby in at least some kind of team mode, because it's going to get really confusing if you can't tell who's on which team. Okay, I hope this video explained the rules well enough, and if you decide to try this soccer game, I hope you have a good time playing it. That is everything I wanted to cover for this video. Thank you all for watching.